this is gonna be episode 4 for Project Defiance here. The last episode, we just got the cab cage entirely installed, and then now we're gonna get to doing the front suspension. So that's gonna start with doing the engine cage and getting it tied into the cab cage here. All right, so as you can see right here, we have this cross tube, and our goal is to butt up right here. I have these holes drilled in on that side, and then we're gonna be moving on to the other side to get those tied in. I think the hole on the inside, I'm gonna retain it as a circle just because of the accessibility to it. But right here, I'm actually gonna square these out. That way I have a little bit more motion that I can work with these tubes and then actually get it tied into this engine cage properly. Still in debates of whether I'm gonna keep the miters here or if I'm gonna cut them through and have it butt up to the rear end, but we'll see. So right here, I'm gonna get started on cutting these out a little bit wider. So now we have our holes cut. I had to clearance around that cabin air filter right there and get to the cage. I think our best kind of plan right here is I'm gonna be starting at the front of the engine cage out. So you can see I've kind of cleaned up the frame rails right here. Get all the factory coating off of it, and then we're gonna be welding to the top. Fortunately, there's holes that are very even that I can kind of match everything out to as far as for where they are at on the frame. That's super cool. And then from there, I'm able to level everything out. So I've been able to kind of clamp this up here just to kind of play around with it for now. And yeah, let's get to trying to get these tubes tacked on. So one of the things, if you guys don't have it, this tool right here is super cool for getting these hose clamps off. It's kind of, you know, a little bit when it's open like this, you can go back to the old channel lock kind of move. But when it comes to trying to get inside the engine bay, using this is pretty tricky. Go. Easy as that. All right, well, we got a little bit carried away. I was able to match these angles right here with this angle right here, and then get everything on the frame and sort of get to the point where I could match it up with the holes they were originally for the brake lines to mount right there. But that way I can kind of know everything is true. I was able to measure the angle across here, angle here, and then angle across these tubes here and make sure that everything is 100% perfect before I actually weld it, which is kind of nice to be able to do. And then also the other thing is I was able to measure across and make sure that this is going to end up crossing dead center right there. So next up, I'll be kind of getting that tacked up right there. I'm gonna get this lower tube tacked up right here. And then after that, we have to cut all 4 corners, and then I'm gonna be adding in these slugs right here. So these are these tube connectors. They're made out of chromoly, which is really cool. But if I decide I'm going to swap the motor, or say something happens to the motor and this has to get pulled out, I'm able to go pull the core support, and then I'll have these tube connectors right there where this entire X can kind of come out and I can pull the motor out as I need to. So yeah, let's get to that. Okay, now that we have everything kind of tacked in right here, I'm gonna be going and installing these bungs right here. So measuring it across, this is 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna cut out 1.5 inches of these. So I'm gonna tape it off before I take it off the truck. Just easier to work with it up here and kind of decide where I want things. I kind of want it as far as I can this way. Obviously you have that slug that you want to not have bind up here, so it's going to need to be down here, so probably about 2.5 inches away. And then kind of go tape around and cut this apart, and that's the kind of the scary part. So let's go. right, so now I'm gonna get to these tube connectors here now that everything's cut. So as you can see right here, I'll pull one up. So these are all made out of chromoly. They're really freaking nice. Super tight tolerances on them, and they are super strong. They are solid. Another thing is they have these offset Allen keys, which is kind of cool. One of the things to pay attention to that you could make an easy mistake, I think, with these is I am doing this face down. So one of the things is you'll notice, like right here, if I was trying to pull it out this way, this would get caught. So I'd have to push this whole section towards the motor. So something that could be an easy mistake. Another thing that's kind of cool is right now I'm able to take this level here and I can throw it on each one of these and find dead zero. That way I know that when it is time to pull this out, it's not fighting with itself. So let's get to getting these things on. Now that that's all tacked in down here, now we can get to these top tubes right here. I ended up using electrical tape just because I kind of have a little bit more play with it. And then I went magnets up here, which kind of seemed to work out. So I've got it right there. I was able to take the level and go across here and get zero across all the way up, and then match both of these at 7.5 degrees upward angle. So I know that these two are exact. And well, now it's time to tack those in. So now we're back to working on the inside of the cab. One of the things is right here, I've got to get a tube tied into this A-pillar here to the engine cage on the other side. And one of the things that's really helped me with this right here is I got this tool right here. It's called a band file. Milwaukee makes one. I think there's air versions of it that are maybe more affordable, but this thing has been awesome because I can get in that tight little space right there and grind away. And same thing with these tubes around here. This thing has just been the coolest tool ever, and I cannot recommend it enough. So let's get to boring at that hole a little bit. So due to how frustrating this portion was for me, I'm leaving it out. But right here, we have this portion notched. Again, this is gonna be 2-inch 120 wall that we have going through the firewall there, and have it matched up right here. And then going across, we have 0 right there on the level. And again, right here, we have it notched right there and inside there at that tube junction. So right now I'm gonna get to tacking this in. I'm finally kind of at a point where it's like, all right, that's good. And then we can get to adding these tubes here and then the tube down to the frame right there. All right, well, that's gonna just about wrap up installing the engine cage on here. Dylan came through, did all the final welding, and it looks awesome. I mean, just everything is just super solid. I love how this ties into the frame right here on both sides and kind of wraps around. We got the tube connectors in, and really next up for the front is we're gonna be doing the long travel kit in here. So mounting stuff like the fuse panel and the ECM, I can't really do anything with that quite yet because I wanna make sure it clears, because we are going with those 40-inch tires tucked back there in the corner. So really what I've been working on next is I've been getting the dash in. Not really gonna film that. It's just me putting in 700 different bolts, and it's a massive pain in the butt. I do not recommend this to anybody. It is kind of a torture to get it to work, but it's in there, it's going in, it seems to be going clean. And once again, with this engine cage here, I can't thank Izzy enough for making products like this that make this a much smoother process. And in the end, it looks awesome. I love the sharp miters. Everything is just, it's super solid. Couldn't be more pumped. And well, I'll catch you guys on the next one. We'll be putting on that long travel kit there. Phew.